Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I am Muhammad Abu Bakr from the study studio of AB, and in this video we shall be solving the Cambridge O-Level Chemistry 5070, the code number for chemistry, and question paper of October-November 2021, question paper number 11. Question paper number 11, paper 1 of multiple choice questions only. For this we have a time of 1 hour to complete this, but we will try to solve this as quickly as possible in a comprehensive way. So let's start our video. A student makes aqueous copper sulfate. So he makes aqueous copper sulfate first of all. The student adds an excess of copper oxide powder to warm H2SO4 and stirs the mixture. So the reaction between copper oxide and sulfuric acid proceeds to give copper sulfate. Which apparatus should be used to separate aqueous copper sulfate from the excess copper oxide? So which apparatus here should be used to separate aqueous copper sulfate from the mixture of copper oxide? So as you can see in this mixture, there are mainly three things. There is copper oxide, which is in excess and is insoluble in water, whereas we have the other thing, which is copper sulfate, which is uh, not in excess and is soluble in water, has now been dissolved in the solution mixture. So how can we separate? There are totally two main things. Sorry, I had said three. There are two main. So how we can separate them is by using a filter funnel that will separate copper oxide, and filter funnel and paper would help. A burette would not help us separate aqueous copper sulfate from the solution. A measuring cylinder will only help us to measure the total volume of the reaction mixture, and the distillation apparatus is also not feasible to be used. So I would go with C. The filter funnel and paper are the best choice. So C is your right answer. A student follows the rate of the reaction between marble chips, which is CaCO3, and dilute HCl. Which diagrams show apparatus that with a stopwatch? So we have to find a rate of rate of reaction is suitable for this experiment. So in this reaction, you can see carbon dioxide is produced. So carbon dioxide escapes as soon as it is produced. So we can measure the rate of reaction by working out the change in mass, or by working out the amount of CO2, the volume of CO2 produced. So if we check this here, in experiment A, there are marble chips here, and there HCl, so the reaction would proceed and CO2 will go something like this, and there is water here. So as soon as CO2 starts to dissolve in this, CO2 goes in this water, the height of the height of water in this measuring cylinder would increase, the height of solution will increase, and this will give us the rate of reaction. So we can say 1 is true. In 2, there is a loose cotton plug in this on this at the top, so the CO2 escapes through, and the change in balance will help us measure the amount of CO2 produced. So 2 is also correct. In 3, we have marble chips. With a burette, we are adding HCl. But 3 is not suitable. Why it is not suitable? Because CO2 escapes from these side waves. So I would say that 1 and 2 are correct. So B is your right answer. A mixture of three liquids is separated by fractional distillation. Which statements are correct? The mixture boils at constant temperature throughout the separation. No. The mixture starts to boil as soon the components of the mixture start to boil as soon as the temperature goes on increasing. So 1 is incorrect. The temperature at which the mixture boils increases during the separation. Yes, that's what I had said earlier. So 2 is correct. The liquid with the highest boiling point is collected first. No. The liquid with lowest volatility, the lowest boiling point, sorry, the liquid with highest volatility, the lowest boiling point would be collected first. So 2 and 4 are only right answers. So D is your right answer. A mixture of 4 colors is analyzed by chromatography. The result is shown. So there are mixture of 4 colored dyes which is analyzed by a chromatography apparatus. Which change will allow the four dyes to be seen? Now, as you can see, these three dyes are in a straight linear line. So how can we change will which change will allow the four dyes to be seen? So measure the RF values of the spot carefully. No, we cannot measure the RF values because the dyes are already on already dyes cannot already be seen. So A is incorrect. Running the chromatograph for a longer time will have no effect. Running the chromatograph using a different solvent. No, this is I'm not sure about this one. Using a locating agent. A locating agent will directly identify each of these four dyes. So yes, I would go with locating agent. So D is the right option. A compound X, when heated with aqueous solution of compound Y, produces a gas that turns red litmus blue. So this gas is a base. It produces a base. So which statements are correct? Y could be potassium hydroxide. So let's check later on. X is an acid. We can check this. X could be an ammonium salt, and X could be a sodium nitrate. So mm, if X is an ammonium salt, if X is an ammonium salt, suppose this is ammonium sulfate, yes, and I react it with Y, which is potassium hydroxide, then I had get K2SO4 along with the emergence of ammonia, which is a base. So 1 and 3 is correct. If X is an acid, then Y, if Y is a potassium hydroxide and I treat potassium hydroxide with an acid, suppose I take HCl, then it will give us KCl along with water, so no gas is being produced. So X is not an acid definitely. So X could be sodium nitrate. X could be sodium nitrate. Mm, it could be Na2 NaNO3, sorry, and I treat it with KOH, then K2NO3 and K2NO3 Na, and I think NaOH is produced. So I'm not sure about 4, but 1 and 3 are correct. 1 3 is definitely true, so 3 is true, so it cannot be D. And 1 is also true. If 3 is an ammonium salt, then 1 should be a potassium hydroxide. So I would go with B. So B is the right option I have selected. An aqueous solution of zinc chloride ZnCl2 is tested by adding reagents. Which observation is correct? So this is an aqueous solution of zinc chloride, and if we add acidified aqueous barium nitrate, if zinc Cl2 is treated with barium nitrate, then ideally, as he has said, that we get a white precipitate. So let's check. Zn nitrate soluble in water, BaCl2 soluble in water. Is BaCl2 soluble in water? I'm not sure about this one, but there is not a formation of white precipitate. I know this. In this reaction, no white precipitate is formed. When aqueous ammonia is added to ZnCl2 NH3 plus H2O, we get NCl3, which is a white precipitate soluble in excess of the reagent. So yes, this makes sense, and along with other products. So B is true. When aqueous sodium hydroxide is added, aqueous sodium hydroxide is added, then NaCl is formed, which is readily soluble in water. C is incorrect. When powdered copper is treated with zinc, so this will give no reaction. Why? Because zinc is above copper in the reactivity series. So B is the right answer. The rate of diffusion of CO2 and methane is investigated at two different temperatures, one high and one low. Which row correctly shows the gas that diffuses faster and the temperature at which diffusion takes place most rapidly? So Greater is the temperature, greater is the rate of diffusion, we know this, and lower is the MR, greater is the diffusion. So methane has a MR of 16, whereas CO2 has 44, I guess. Yes. So I would go with C. Methane has lower MR and higher temperature in this case. So C would be the correct option. Which statement about atoms and ions is correct? Atoms and ions of the same element must have different number of neutrons. Atoms and no, the number of neutrons can be same in atoms and ions, so A is incorrect. Isotopes of different elements must have different number of neutrons. Isotopes of different elements must have different number of neutrons. This is also incorrect. Uh, we know that, I think, no, I'm not sure about this one, but I do know that isotopes of different elements must have different number of neutrons. Suppose if we check the periodic table, let me open it. If we check the periodic table, there is carbon 14, there is carbon 14, and it has amount, the number of neutrons in it is 8. Similarly, we have the nitrogen 15, and this has the number of neutrons 8. 8 neutrons, 8 neutrons. So this can be same. This is not different. So these can, the number of neutrons in isotopes of different elements can be same. So B is also incorrect. The charge on a positive ions is equal to nucleon number minus number of neutrons minus number of electrons. So if I check this, suppose we take carbon again and I subtract the number of neutrons, then I am left with 6 protons and 6 electrons, and I I minus, suppose carbon forms the two positive charge, so I would minus 2 electrons, so this will I would minus 4 electrons. No, carbon forms, no, let's take something other than carbon. Carbon forms equivalent bond in most cases. So if I take, why don't we take boron, which is 5, and I think it is 9. Yes, it is 9. Again, I'm not sure about boron. We can take chlorine. So chlorine is 17 and 35.5, and there are 17 electrons total in it. And if the charge on a positive ion, chlorine forms a negative ion. What am I doing? Positive. We take sodium. We take sodium. Okay, so 11, 23, 11 electrons, and it loses one electron. So it will give us 10 electrons. So there is a charge on a positive ion which is 1 positive, 1 positive, 1 sodium. So C is true. The number of neutrons and the protons in an atom must be same. No, this is not same in all cases. So C is the right option. The bonding in a molecule of CO2 can be represented by dot and cross diagram. Which diagram is correct? So if we check A, the carbon 1, 2, 3, 4, carbon has 4 electrons, as we know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and oxygen has 6 electrons in its outermost shell, so A can be right. In B, we can see that oxygen has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So oxygen never has 7 electrons in the outermost shell. B is also incorrect. In C, we can see that oxygen is in the middle. So this is also incorrect. In D, the oxygen is on the ends, but oxygen has only, he has shown only 2 electrons in oxygen. So D is also incorrect in the outermost shell. So A is the right option. So question number 10. Which statement about the structure or bonding of metals is correct? A metal lattice consists of negative ions in a sea of electrons. No, it consists of positive ions in a sea of electrons. So A is incorrect. Electrons in a metal move randomly through the lattice. Yes, this is true. Metals are malleable because the ions present are mobile. The ions are not mobile. Only the free electrons are mobile. The ions in a metal move when positive and negative electrodes are attached. No, they do not move. The metals do not consist of ions, first of all. So electrons in a metal move randomly through the lattice. Yes, this is true. B is the right option. The relative atomic mass of chlorine is 35.5. What is the mass of 2 mole of chlorine gas? That is 2 into 35.5 C. But this is incorrect. Why it is incorrect? Because 2 mole of chlorine gas. A chlorine gas consists of 2 chlorine atoms. So that is 71 for each, and we have 2 moles. So chlorine 2 plus chlorine 2, 71 plus 71, that is 142. So there are a total of 142 grams of chlorine in 2 moles of chlorine gas. So D is the right option. Methane burns in oxygen. 10 centimeter cube of methane is reacted with 25 centimeter cube of oxygen. What is the total volume of the gas that would be measured after the reaction? And all the gases apparent at RTP. So what can we infer from this? That we are reacting 10 centimeter cube of methane, that is 0.01 moles of CH4 with 25 centimeter cube of oxygen. So 1 mole of oxygen. So the total volume of oxygen here is, the total volume is 25 centimeter cube, but only 20 centimeter cube will react. Why 20 centimeter cube will react? Because CH4 here is a limiting reactant which controls the amount of product formed due to its lower amount. So it will only react with 0.02 moles of oxygen, which is 20 centimeter cube. That will give us 0.01 mole of CO2. That is so that is again 10 centimeter cube, and along with 2 water molecules. So water is a liquid. So what is the total volume of the gas that would be measured after the reaction? It is 10 centimeter cube of the CO2 formed and the remaining 5 centimeter cube of oxygen. So that is 15 centimeter cube. So B is the right option. An aqueous solution is made by dissolving 3.4 grams of sodium hydroxide NaOH to make 500 centimeter cube of the solution. What is the concentration in moles per decimeter cube of this sodium hydroxide solution? So aqueous solution is made by dissolving 3.4 grams of sodium hydroxide. So the number of moles is 3.4 over 40. So I'm putting this into the calculator. 3.4 over 40. That is 0.085. 0.085 to make 500 centimeter cube of the solution. So for concentration we have the formula number of moles N divided by volume in decimeter cube. So it is 500 centimeter cubes. So 0.085 over 0.5. So I check multiplying this with sorry, I have to divide it here. 0.085 divided by 0.5, so that is 0.17. So 0.17 moles per decimeter cube is the concentration of this sodium hydroxide. So C is right. Which statement about electrolysis reactions is correct? So bromine is formed at anode when molten lead bromide is electrolyzed. So molten lead bromide would contain Pb positive and bromine negative. And these bromine negative, the anions are discharged at the anode. A for anions and A for anode. So these bromine molecules will be discharged at the anode. So when molten lead bromide is electrolyzed, so A is true. Positive ions are discharged at the positive electrode. No, negative ions are discharged at the positive electrode, as I said earlier. Sodium is formed at the cathode when aqueous sodium chloride is electrolyzed. Sodium is formed at the cathode when aqueous sodium chloride is electrolyzed. So when aqueous sodium chloride is electrolyzed, I think water or some gas is produced, sodium is not produced. I'm not sure about this one, but I'm pretty much sure that A is the right option. Sulfur dioxide is formed as a gas when dilute as sulfuric acid is electrolyzed. No hydrogen gas is produced. So A would be your right answer. The apparatus shown is set electroplate a steel key with copper. So this is the pure copper, and this is the steel key which is to be electroplated. The key does not get coated with copper, which change needs to be made up to plate the key. So increase the concentration of aqueous copper sulfate. Now why do we have to increase the concentration? This doesn't make sense. Increase the voltage. Yes, this increasing the voltage. No, voltage again does not have any relation the with this problem we are having here. Replace the solution with dilute H2SO4. If dilute H2SO4 is added to this solution, then copper ions could not move. So C is also incorrect. We are only left with D, and this is true. As you can see here, the steel key is to be electroplated. So it should be negative cathode at which it is present, and it should be positive at which pure copper is present. The object to be electroplated is at the cathode, and the material from which the materials of electroplating comes is at the anode. So if we reverse the electrical connections, so this will uh, make our key coated with copper. So D is the right option. Which process is endothermic? So atoms bonding to form molecules. No, this can be endothermic or exothermic, anyone. The chemical reaction occurring in a fuel cell is exothermic because heat is used later on in the uh, for further purposes. The reaction of CO2 and water to produce glucose and oxygen. The reaction of CO2 and water takes place in the presence of chlorophyll and sunlight. So sunlight and chlorophyll are essential, and they provide the activation energy, you can say, for this reaction. So yes, it absorbs energy from the surroundings. The reaction of methane with oxygen to produce water and carbon dioxide, this is combustion, and combustion always releases energy. Combustion is exothermic. So C is the right option. The reaction of hydrogen with chlorine to form gaseous hydrogen chloride is exothermic. So energy is released. Which statement is correct? Or temperature of the reaction mixture falls during the reaction. No, the temperature of the reaction mixture increase, and temperature of the reaction mixture increase. So C and D are incorrect. The total energy, if we check A, the total energy of bond formation is greater than the total energy of bond breaking. So suppose we have H2 and Cl2, then we get HCl along with energy. So the total energy of bond formation is greater than the total energy of bond breaking. So the energy involved in breaking these two is is lower than the energy required to produce HCl. So yes, A is true. The total energy of bond breaking is greater than the total energy of bond formation. This is the converse statement. So A is the right answer. The equation shows the reaction for manufacture of ammonia with changes will decrease the EA activation energy of the reaction. The addition of a catalyst always does that. A is the right option. All other are incorrect. I'm pretty much sure. Which statement about oxidation and reduction are correct? Reduction can involve the loss of oxygen. Yes, it does. Reduction is gain of hydrogen, loss of oxygen. Oxidation can involve the loss of hydrogen. Oxidation can involve the loss of hydrogen. Yes, it can involve the loss of hydrogen. So reduction can involve the loss of electrons. No, reduction only involves the gain of electrons. So so 1 and 2 are correct. Reduction is gain of hydrogen, loss of oxygen. Oxidation is gain of oxygen, loss of hydrogen. So 1 and 2 are correct. A is the right option. And aqueous ammonium nitrate NH4NO2 decomposes when heated. In this salt, the anion is 1. So in this salt, the anion is NO2 negative. Yes, anion has a negative charge. The nitrogen atoms in the sorry. The anions the in this salt, the anion is 1, so it is NO2 negative in this one here. Sorry, the nitrogen atoms in two positive ions. I have to correct this. So the nitrogen atoms in two ion are oxidized during the reaction. So what is oxidation? Oxidation is loss of electrons. So the ions in NH4 further on go to form N2 along with the hydrogen which is attached to oxygen later on. So nitrogen atoms in 2 are oxidized because they have lost oxygen now. So C is the right option. Elements X and Y react together in a reversible reaction to form XY2. 1 mole of X is mixed with 1 mole of Y. So X is mixed with 1 mole of Y and the reaction mixture is left to react until an equilibrium position is reached. Which statement about this reaction is correct? So after the equilibrium position has been reached, the reaction stops. No, the reaction continues. At equilibrium, there is more than 0.5 mole of X present. So at equilibrium, there is more than half mole of X present. So in there is more than half mole of X present. Yes, there is 1 mole of X and there is 1 mole of X present definitely. So at equilibrium there is less than 1 mole of XY2 present. There is less than 1 mole of XY2 present. So if there is more than 0.5 moles of X present, then definitely there is lesser amount of XY2 present. So 2 and 3 are correct. So do you comprehend that when half mole of X is present greater than half mole, then obviously lower than half mole of XY2 should be present ideally. So this makes sense. So D is the right option and this is true. Two solutions are prepared. Solution P is 0.05 moles per decimeter cube HCl and solution Q is 0.1 moles of butanoic acid. So it is CH3, CH2, CH2, COH, COOH. A 2 centimeter cube strip, a 2 centimeter strip of magnesium ribbon is put into 100 centimeter cube of each solution. Fizzing is seen in both solutions, but fizzing is faster in solution P than it is in solution Q. Which statement helps to explain this observation? So what is meant by fizzing? That something like a gas is coming out with effervescence. The gas is being produced. That's why fizzing is being seen. Which statement helps to explain this observation? Magnesium reacts with magnesium reacts with solution P to form a salt, but does not form a salt with solution Q. This is incorrect. A metal, remember this, a metal always reacts with acid to produce salt and hydrogen gas. So A is incorrect. More particles are dissociated in solution P than are dissociated in solution Q. Yes, this can be true because of energy differences of A and B, or solution P and Q. Solution Q contains a stronger acid than solution P. No, solution P HCl is stronger. The particles are closer together in solution Q than they are in solution P. This is not an explanation to this observation. So B is true. There is an energy difference of HCl and butanoic acid, and that's why more particles are dissociated in HCl than butanoic acid BA. So B is your right option. Which compound can be formed by precipitation? NaCl is soluble, K2SO4 is soluble, calcium nitrate. Calcium nitrate is again soluble, whereas sulfate sulfate salt is soluble in water. Oh, sorry, insoluble in water. Sulfate salt, lead sulfate is insoluble in water. So D is your right option. In a neutralization reaction, which change in particles occurs? In a neutralization reaction, we have acid plus base, which forms salt and water, which both are molecules. So obviously molecules are formed. C and D are incorrect. Whereas there is exchange of ions. Suppose I have HCl and then I treat it with NaOH. There is exchange of ions. So ions convert into molecules. So B is the right answer. Atoms do not convert because they are already compounds. They are not atoms. So B is your right answer, sir. In order to decide which would be the better nitrogenous fertilization, a student calculates the percentage by mass of nitrogen in both ammonium sulfate and ammonium nitrate. So which row gives the correct results? Percentage by mass of nitrogen in ammonium sulfate. So The MR of ammonium sulfate is 28 over 142, that is 21.2, whereas the MR of nitrogen nitrate, ammonium nitrate is 42 over something like, not sure about this one, you can check this, but the percentage by mass of nitrogen in ammonium nitrate is 35%, 36% and something. So check this by yourself, do this in your calculator, find the MR of ammonium nitrate, and this will help you find out the percentage by mass of nitrogen in both these salts. So C is your right answer. The manufacture of sulfuric acid by contact process involves the use of three different raw materials. How many of these raw materials are elements, and how many compounds, and how many are mixtures? The first reaction is sulfur with oxygen, which gives us sulfur dioxide. So there is one element. The second reaction is to treat sulfur with oxygen to give us sulfur trioxide. So there is one compound of oxygen. And the third reaction is to treat sulfur with hydrogen, water mixture of water. So it will give us H2SO4. So there is one mixture here. So C is your right option. Check this in your textbook as well. You can get that. The temperature shows part of the periodic table. Which two letters represent the elements that can react together to form covalent compounds which can form bonds within each other. So W is a metal, so metal cannot form a covalent bond. X is a transition element. X cannot form a covalent bond with itself. Y and Z are non-metal. So suppose Y is, I think it's nitrogen, and this is fluorine. So we know that nitrogen gas and fluorine both exist. So Y and Z, D is your right answer. Which statement about elements in the periodic table is correct? Elements at the left hand side of the periodic table are more metallic in the same period near the right hand side. So if I check the elements on the left hand side of this period are more metallic, and these are non-metals, and then we have the noble gases. So this, yes, A is true. So A is your right answer. All other are incorrect. Which statement about the properties of the elements in group 8 of the periodic table, helium to xenon, is correct? Argon reacts with iron to form a compound. A noble gas never reacts. Helium is less dense than air. Yes, this is true. That's why hot air balloons do exist. The elements change from gas to solid down the group. No, they all are gases. Elements exist as covalent molecules. No, they exist as monoatomic molecules. So B is your right answer. Helium is less dense than air. Which two substances indicate that metal M may have a proton number between 21 and 30? So it means that it is a transition element. It conducts electricity. It conducts electricity. Yes, this can be true. I'm not sure. It doesn't react with water. No, this statement does not indicate that they have a proton number between 21 and 30. Transition elements may or may not react with water. It forms two basic oxides with formula MgO and M2O3. This is true. Means what? Means that it has variable oxidation states. So C is correct. It forms two colored sulfates. So which metal between 21 and 30 forms two colored sulfates? So that is scandium does not. Titanium oxide is single, V2O3 and V2O5. So there is not VO. C, chromium oxide. Manganese doesn't. Ferrous does. Ferrous has one ferric oxide, and then other is Fe2O3, which is brown and red brown in color. I'm not sure about the colors. Cobalt is not. Nickel is not. Copper again is not. Zinc is not. So yes, I had to go with 3 is true, 4 is true, 3 and 4 both are true. Now, do the transition elements conduct electricity? Do all of them? Not sure once again, but I know that 3 and 4 are true. By method of elimination, so we can check D as right. Different metals react with water in different ways. Which statement is correct? Calcium does not react with cold water. Calcium reacts with cold water. Calcium reacts with cold water to give, I think, calcium. Uh, calcium reacts with water to form. Calcium reacts with water to form calcium oxide along with hydrogen gas. A is incorrect. Iron reacts slowly with steam to produce an oxide of iron and hydrogen. Yes, iron reacts slowly with steam to produce an oxide of iron and hydrogen. This reaction, ferric plus H2O, steam which is heated, this is the gas, produce oxide of FeO along with hydrogen. So these two reactions are approximately the same. Magnesium reacts with steam to produce MgOH, and oxygen, no, it produces MgO. So C is incorrect. Sodium reacts with cold water to produce aqueous sodium hydroxide and hydrogen, no, it produces NaH. So D is incorrect. So I think B is your right answer. But if I put some pressure on my mind, I think I can remember something. So if I treat sodium with water, so it will give us aqueous sodium oxide and hydrogen. No, it will give us sodium hydroxide. Sorry, it will give us sodium hydroxide. So D is incorrect. B is your right answer, sir. Metal X is more reactive than zinc but less reactive than sodium. So this is zinc, this is sodium, and this metal X is present in between. What would be the best method for obtaining metal X from its ore? Electrolysis of an aqueous solution of a salt X. An aqueous solution is the problem here. Aqueous solution may give hydrogen and chlorine gases, so this may not be feasible. Electrolysis of molten oxide of X. This is true. All the metals between sodium and zinc can be electrolyzed uh, if we have their molten oxide. So B is true. Heating the oxide of X in hydrogen, heating the oxide of X in hydrogen, this would be too costly, I think, and this again is not feasible. The heating the oxide of X with powdered carbon, this is again for the metals which have uh, higher difficulty of extraction. So B is your right answer. Steel is often galvanized. Which statements about galvanizing is correct? Galvanizing makes a steel alloy. No, galvanizing is just the surfacing of another metal on a metal. So it is not doesn't make a steel an alloy. One is incorrect. Galvanizing provides a sacrificial protection against rusting. Yes, the sacrificial metals such as zinc and magnesium provide sacrificial protection. Galvanizing coats a layer of zinc onto steel. Yes, this is true. Zinc or magnesium can be used. 2 and 3 are correct. C is your right answer. In the extraction of aluminium from Al2O3 aluminium oxide, the following reaction takes place. So which reaction takes place at the positive electrode? So at the anode, oxidation takes place. So remember this. So carbon plus oxygen. So third one is oxidation. Oxidation is also the loss of electrons. So these oxygen atoms lose electrons. 2 is true as well. Al3 positive plus 3 electron negative. This is the reduction. So 2 and 3 are correct, means D is your right answer. The carbon cycle regulates the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. Combustion, photosynthesis, respiration are involved in this cycle. How do these processes affect the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere? So combustion gives CO2 as product. So what is combustion? I take methane and I treat it with oxygen. I will get CO2 along with water. So combustion increases. Photosynthesis is the utility. So this is combustion till here. CO2 plus water combine to form glucose and sunlight, glucose and oxygen. So photosynthesis decreases the CO2. whereas respiration is the breakdown of glucose to produce CO2 and water. Suppose this is a chain reaction, but it is not. I'm just doing this for ease of understanding. So glucose plus oxygen within the mitochondrion, CO2 is produced and it is added, so it increases. So B is your right answer. Which statement about alkanes is correct? Alkanes are being described as being saturated. Yes, they are, because they are insoluble in water. No, they are saturated because all of their bonds are single. Alkanes react with chlorine in an addition reaction. No, it reacts with chlorine in an replacement reaction, in a substitution reaction. The alkanes containing 10 carbon atoms in each molecule have a higher viscosity than alkane containing 20 carbon atoms. No, this is again against the principle of densities. Greater is the mass, greater is the density. The formula of an alkane with 35 carbon atoms in each molecule is C35H72, so it obeys the C and H2N formula. So D is right. D is the correct answer. The structure of compound X is shown. So four statements are made about the compound X. X burns in air to form carbon dioxide and water. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. It is butene. So yes, it can undergo combustion. So yes, one is true. X turns bromine water from colorless to brown. From colorless to brown, no. It turns bromine water from brown to colorless. It decolorizes bromine water. It doesn't colorize bromine. So 2 is incorrect. X is propene. No, it is butene. The number of CC single bonds, carbon-carbon single bonds, is increased by reacting X with hydrogen. So yes, if we add bromine, then we can end this double bond here. We can add hydrogens to these carbons. So yes, the number of single carbon-carbon single bond is increased by reacting X with hydrogen in an addition reaction. So 1 and 4 are correct. B is the right answer. When ethene reacts with steam to form ethanol, which type of reaction takes place? So ethene is C2H4 and I react it with water, steam, sorry. So it forms ethanol C2H5, C2. When ethene reacts with steam to form ethanol, which type of reaction take place? C2H5OH. So yes, it is an addition reaction because water molecule is being added and OH group is being added. It is not fermentation, it is not polymerization, it is not reduction. So A is your right answer. Which compound could be a flavoring in a non-alcoholic fruit drink? A is incorrect because it is 1, 2, it is ethanol, so it is alcoholic. A is incorrect. Similarly, D is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it is pentol. Yes, pentol. So pentol is again alcoholic. If we check B, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it is pentoic acid. Pentoic acid. And in C we have 1, 2, so it is, so no, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, so we have butyl, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no, sorry, we have pentyl here. We have pentyl, and then we have the CH3COO, which is the acetate. We have pentyl acetate, which is a carboxylic acid, which is an ester, sorry, which is an ester. We have pentyl acetate. So ester can be added. Why would someone add an acid in a fruit drink? Why would someone add acid in a fruit drink? So ester is true. C is your right answer. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is pentyl acetate, which is an ester. So C is your right answer. P is a polymer that has 6 carbons in each of the monomers from which it is formed. It's not a polyester, is formed using condensation polymerization. What is the partial structure of P? So it has 6 carbon atoms. So D is definitely incorrect because it has 4, 8, 8. So 8 is incorrect. In B, we can see that this is a structure of a protein. This is a structure of a bromine, and proteins are formed by addition polymerization, I guess. So B is also incorrect. No, I'm not sure about B. A is a A is a fatty acid, so A is incorrect. In B and C, so in B and C, you can see that this is the monomer unit, I guess, and this monomer unit here is not a polyester RC double bond O RCOOR. It is not an ester. First of all, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, and this is the seventh. So it has 7 carbons in the monomer. So B is true. B is incorrect. We are only left with C. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 carbons, and then 6 carbons, and now along with the hydrogen molecule, along with this amine NH. So C is your right answer. I'm not sure about this MCQ. I'm not sure how to solve it. Sorry, I'm also a student. So try to solve this on your own. But I think C is true. And checking from the key, C is true. But I cannot provide logical reason why C is true. The educate and the I cannot provide the information which is 100% true. So I'm not sure. Check this by yourself. So that's all for today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and press the bell icon for upcoming videos and past papers. Good night and goodbye. Allah Hafiz.